Good afternoon. We call to order the planning board meeting of the town of Belgrade for Thursday, April 20th, 2023. And following the order of the agenda, we're gonna do a roll call. And tonight we have here with us Mr. Baker, and we have Mr. Seal, Mr. Alexander, and Hans Rasmussen. And on Zoom, we have Mr. Sakaro. Is that true, Mick?
Yes, it is. Good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. So in the audience, we have our guest, Mr. Bishop.
Correct.
And I just know you as
I'm Ryan.
Ryan, yeah. Who's the contractor for the application we're gonna have going here. So going to new business. Can you repeat your last name again, Ryan?
Eldridge, ELDRIDGE.
Yeah, that's for the benefit of our secretary. Thank you. So we have to consider first order of business is the application from Mr. Christian Bishop, and everybody has the packet here. This is the address is 70 Ambrose Cove Road. That's right on Meslonsky Lake. And it's in map 47 lot 10. This is the property is a residential property, and the proposed construction is to adjust the roof pitch and height to add 63 square feet to expand the bathroom. Existing storage disposal system type and capacity is 1,000 gallons. It's a concrete tank. And it's 360 GPD to a field. There are 4 bedrooms, and no bedrooms are planned to be, additional bedrooms are not planned to be added. The property was purchased within the shoreline zone on March of 2015. And the total lot area is gonna be 68,389 square feet. And the lot area within the shoreline zone is the same amount, 68,389. And square footage of the unvegetated surface within shoreline zone, including all structures, driveways, parking, walkways, and patios is 5,868 square feet. The total area of cleared openings of woody vegetation in square feet is 16,320. And the total number of structures on the lot is 4. Present structure square footage is 809, and the proposed structure square footage is 872. So that's an additional 63 square feet. And with that, I open the floor for discussions about the application.
Sir, if you don't mind, I'd like to offer some corrections, and these are my errors.
Okay,
Line 7, there's lot area in shoreline zone should be 30,000 square feet. It's 201 feet of shoreline
Are
frontage.
we talking this?
That's correct. But this is not. So what she just read
oh, okay,
is different from
I'm
reality.
I'm sorry.
And no, it's not your fault. what was on here, and, line 9, the cleared openings, within shoreline zone is 11,935, not the 16,220 that is on the application. And that's just because, we did a total lot cleared area versus just the shoreline zone.
Okay,
So this is in the course of you working with Mr. Bishop?
It is, and it's my clerical area.
but all this information that you just gave us is in the electronic portion of the application,
Yeah, this is correct.
right? Thank
And
you.
this pertains to the shoreline zone area.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And so it's still just by a whisker under 20% unvegetated.
Yes, and that's just going from the Google Earth. If the trees have gotten bigger, there's more canopy.
Yeah, no, I'm not, it's kind of a dangerous way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, this time of year, you can't see a canopy.
No, I'm talking about the area of unvegetated surfaces, so the footprint of all the structures, driveways, parking, walkways, not the amount of open canopy.
Are you guys talking impervious soil or canopy?
Impervious.
So that we can assess whether or not it meets the no more than 20% of the lot within the shoreline zone.
Really ought to be direct measurements.
What's that?
I said it really should be direct measurements.
Yeah, no, it absolutely must be. You
So,
can't do that in Google Earth.
The way I understood it to measure was the buildings themselves, but looking at from an aerial view down.
Right.
The eaves, the driveway, which is obviously open in that shoreline zone. So when I did those measurements, they're well below that.
Yeah,
Then we looked at the canopy of the lawn, it's grass, but is there a tree above it? Yes, but that part is hard to measure because you've got a canopy, how do you measure that? That's not easy to do, but the actual hard surfaces, I think we did go
They're
through.
correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I went through the same exercise you did using your site plan and came up with the exact same number that you did. And that's consistent with what's on the application form. So I just got confused by what you said.
The total lot area is, and then the total lot area in shoreline zone is not the same. So the
Okay,
shoreline.
yeah, I meant the square footage of unvegetated surface, the 5868 square feet.
That's correct.
That's fine.
That's correct.
Right.
So it's the lot area in the shoreline zone, everything accurate.
Yes.
What was the square footage in shoreline zoning again?
30,000.
30,000.
You've got 102 storefront,
Right.
250 back.
So about a little more than twice the area of your lot is outside the.
Correct.
Zone 200.
It's a big, long lot that goes all the way up to the railroad tracks in the water, so a whole big chunk of it, is up back there.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions for the application?
I got a couple of questions, and on the face of this, it looks like a simple application. But there's some technicalities that, may affect, at least my thinking on the project. The first one is the camp is 23 feet from the water. In changing the pitch of the roof, is that going to include that first 2 feet? Because if it does, that's an expansion of the structure within 20.
The site drawings seem to indicate that it does.
Pardon me?
The site planning
Yeah.
indicates that it does.
My thought was that could be an issue or whatever it would be. The other thing, and this is the first time, as long as I was dealing with shoreline zoning stuff, it's the first time that I've seen a case like this, but if you go to, on page 9 of our ordinance, non-conforming structures, I guess I read the whole paragraph. The first one addresses the 25 feet. Expansion of any portion of a structure within 25 feet of the normal high water line of a water body, tributary stream, or upland edge of a wetland is prohibited, even if the expansion will not increase nonconformity with the water body, tributary stream, or wetland setback. So that addresses, and the other thing is expansion of a structure is increase in footprint or height of the structure. So that's where I get the first 2 feet has to stay at the same elevation, and I know it's minor, but I don't think that we can approve something contrary to what the ordinance says. The other, if I read on further on that, thing, it says expansion of an accessory structure that is located closer to the normal high water line of a water body, tributary stream, or upland edge of a wetland, then the principal structure is prohibited, even if the expansion will not increase nonconformity with the water setback. A strict interpretation of that is that the principal structure is the house, and this is an accessory structure being a cottage. And if you took it that way, then any of these accessory structures, and the question here, I guess, two things. One, is a cottage and an accessory structure, or is that a principal structure, just happens to be a cottage and not the main house?
Right.
If
So-
you take it that way, it's not an issue at all.
Yeah, and that kind of leads to my question of whether that cottage, at one point in the application, it's actually referred to as a bunkhouse. Has a bathroom and whether it has cooking facilities,
It does.
has both of those, so that's a second residential dwelling unit, right?
Yeah.
But what's the relationship between that
Cottage was able.
principal versus accessory?
It really can be argued that they're both principal structures because they're residential dwelling unit.
Right,
Yes, Hans.
In the notes, on the bottom, 3 lots were combined to create this one. So this is a legally existing non-conforming structure from one of the original 3 lots.
I brought the deed just in case.
Therefore, it is a primary structure for,
At one point, this camp was on one lot and their house was on another separate lot.
They were 3 of them, lots 1 and 2 of the original plan from 1946. And that cottage is dated probably before that, but it's hard to say. The house was built in 1983, but that was lot 2. And they also combined lot 3, which is the lot out back, which is the part that goes into the shoreline zoning area. So it was 3 of them put together.
Well, the other thing that I had the reason that was put in there about not expanding an accessory structure. That's less closer to the water than the principal structure is if somebody had, let's say that bunk cottage you're talking about now, say it was 60 feet back from the water, and you had a shed that was 25 feet from the water. There would be nothing to prohibit that person from tearing down, because we're dealing with square footage,
Right.
volume and all that.
right,
So we wanted to make sure that people weren't tearing down the main structure and building a principal structure closer to the water. In this case here, we've got a house that meets the setback requirement. And if they decided, if somebody wanted to tear down this cottage and build something on a shed, we'd have to say no. But in this case here, I'm thinking that that's not the intent of the ordinance, when you got a conforming structure at 100 foot. But I
yeah.
wanted to bring that up for discussion.
Well, I had the same question that you did about, depending on what the answer was to my question about the existence of cooking and bathroom facilities in addition to sleeping, whether it was an accessory structure, a second principal structure. And not that it makes any difference with regard to lot size, because it's all non-conforming, but But, you know, if it was a principal structure, how, you know, the ordinance isn't clear to me at least, or at least the definitions of accessory and principal structure always that give me trouble, but particularly accessory structure, but, you know, compared to the examples of decks and sheds and things like that, this seems to me like a second principal structure, and that second part of that paragraph probably shouldn't be applied in this situation.
I think you're probably right. So I do think that the height change in the first 2 feet is supported by the ordinance. The other one was a questionable thing, and I'm willing to myself.
Yeah, when you say supported by the ordinance, in other words, it's prohibited by the ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that interpretation, actually.
So, so if I'm hearing, it's basically because there's the 2 feet inside that 25-foot zone, is that it can't change that part there at all.
Right,
So I'm wondering, and I didn't talk to you guys about this, but, because I was wondering, it's hard, you read these ordinances and you turn yourself
well, if it
around.
was, you know, you could have one person doing this job, right?
Yeah, and so, so I'm wondering
They're
if,
not easy.
if it makes sense. Because of the way this place is built and what we can do to it, I'm wondering if we shave off the front, basically, when we do this construction, 2 feet. Gone. Change that, because we're gonna change that pitch of the roof anyways. I mean, that's the whole point, trying to get rid of the water issues.
Oh,
In the
okay,
part that we've been getting, because it comes down and gets real flat.
Yeah.
And I'm up there shoveling snow, you know, and getting older, so we want to change that pitch. The pitch would be like going from here, maybe shifting back so that it's over 2 feet. But then add that 2 feet that we did have up front to the backside along with my expansion. I still believe it would all be within that square footage, definitely under the 1,000 square foot mark. I mean, I don't know if that's even feasible from your guys' point of view. Do you understand what I'm saying? Just because the way this property is, it's all on posts, so it's not like, you know, we have a foundation that's hard to change what we're doing, it's posts. Our only restriction is we've got our septic tank, that is close by, but still, within, I think the zone where it's still legal, you know? Because we originally had to get a variance for the filtration system up near the top, near the garage. There was a whole thing there. So anyways, I believe if we just take effectively, we're gonna change the roof pitch, just shift it back 2 feet, shave off that front. Now we're 25 feet away from the water. The whole thing would be the 25-foot to the 75-foot zone, the way I read the interpretation, still be within that 1,000 square feet, well within that.
right, yeah, you'd have like 118 square feet to play with, something like that.
Right, and that's all we're talking about. I didn't ask you guys that thought. I mean, that's what because you know, frankly, I read through these rules very, very carefully multiple times. And I figured I'd probably have to deviate depending on what those interpretations were at the meeting. Originally, I was gonna be doing this with my buddies. I just got fortunate that I get some pros.
So can we take the square footage and come back to the 25 setback? Can we, as long as we don't go towards the lake, can we take it in the front where the stairs are?
By front, you mean away from the lake?
Oh, I mean, or the backside too. We're pulling everything back.
So if I'm hearing you, the lakeside, let's refer to that as the front, the lake. Just so we mean, that's what I was saying, is we shave off 2 feet off that
So I
side.
can go right here. I think go.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean, I'd be okay with that. I didn't even think of that. Do you
As long as we're not
understand?
encroaching on the lake.
Maybe show your picture.
Yeah,
So the lake's right here. This is the existing. These are the steps. If we cut this back, within 25, can we just put that square footage right here and tie it back in, square it up?
Yeah.
As long as we don't, you know, close to the lake, we're gonna come back.
I understand that to be
Yeah.
okay.
Then that doesn't change what you guys were gonna do back here.
No, it doesn't, we don't go outside the footprint, and the stairs are there anyway, so you're not really going outside of anything.
I think that's more in line with your original plans.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then we should,
right. It is more.
and then
you're
can you
right.
take the 30%, the bathroom addition you want up in the back side? Which is actually maybe, you want it 9%, right?
It wasn't even I didn't do it by percentage, it was square foot, that I still want, that bathroom.
Oh, yeah, but that was
That
that
was the
9% of your footprint?
I don't know what the percentage was,
It was well under the 30%.
Zero under.
No, there
Yeah.
really is 30%.
Oh, yeah, you guys are 1,000 square.
It's
okay.
1,000.
Yeah, just 1,000
And
square
we're well
feet
over that.
of footprint.
Yeah, well, so what we'd love to do, take that back from the 25-foot mark, or make sure it overhangs, so it'd be about probably 4 feet or 5 feet on the front. Square the front up and then square the back up.
Yeah. And that would be, you know, the bathroom.
Yeah, yeah,
And the really
The
the
back.
part that we measured from that is the issue isn't out front here. That closest point is from here to where the water eroded in a little like dip. That's where I measured from, was
Okay.
that dip. So I'm not sure, I mean, it literally is 2 feet, but it's that one.
I would have rounded up.
It was one corner where the water had eroded over the years, a divot. Where they used to access the water, so they wore it through. So being 100% accurate, that one corner, but this is all plenty good.
Yeah.
The rest of it's all well within or outside of the 25-foot zone. It's just that one tiny little bit that sticks there, but I see what you're saying. I'd be okay with that, if that makes sense.
So the only thing I would caution you on is as you're sort of contracting the camp,
That's
that
good.
you don't exceed the 20 feet maximum height. I mean, right
Oh, yeah,
now,
yeah.
you're nowhere close,
Oh,
but
yeah, we can do that.
And right
We
now,
don't,
it is so shallow. It's when you measure from the top of the peak down to the ground, it's only like 13 feet.
right,
So there's quite a range.
Yeah, you got
to
another
work
stone.
with.
we can at least get a 5, good sized pitch on it, so we won't get that.
I think that'd be okay. I don't know what the others think.
Yeah, under 20 feet and the expansion or whatever is beyond 25 feet back.
I mean, we'd obviously need a, you know, revised drawings, but.
Yeah.
But it's conceptually, that would be a solution.
Are we able to get it approved with that contingency and just provide it after the fact? So,
I wouldn't feel comfortable with that. There's too many moving parts. I don't know, I can't speak for others, but. You know, I'd like to see it in the revised site drawing.
So is that something that
I have to go do it right
go
now.
somewhere and do it and bring it back to us? I don't know.
yeah, because I did it all by hand, if you noticed.
I got graphics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. I just,
Okay,
You
well,
know.
I'll go draw it up.
Yeah, give us like, you guys have other business, I think, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
You wanna take these?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
We'll
Thank
get
you.
erosion control to reflect the same.
Yeah.
and the reason I'm being a stickler is just because, you know, 18 months from now. We've approved something, but if it's not on paper, nobody's gonna remember. You won't remember, we won't remember. And Hans might not remember, more importantly.
Might not take 18 months. I wasn't talking about harm.
We'll go out there, we'll work, you guys get a little other business
Yeah.
anyways, right?
Yeah, we
We'll,
can,
we'll go adjust this one and then, it'll be like the one copy.
I'll make
Make copies, okay.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back.
Can I suggest to you to do the changes in red, maybe?
There's some red pen out there.
There should be, you should have some red.
All right.
Right. Or different color pen, that's what I'm.
I got blue if that helps.
We'll see what they've got, how's that?
All right.
I'll take it, just in case.
Just in case.
Thank you. Want to trade? I don't have that.
All right, we'll see you in a minute.
I won't give this back if it's good, better,
All right. So then,
Texas.
we're gonna put that item A on hold. And we're gonna move to all business. And the first item in all business is the family letter response.
So, I guess everybody had a chance to probably look at that, electronically. When I sent it out to everybody, but Hans has also included it. In, well, Nick doesn't have it, as a consequence, unfortunately, but, in the newer board packet that's was waiting for us, on town letterhead. The only thing I would add, or I should mention about this is, you may recall Sarah because, she knows Mr. Finlay and are you a butter of this property as well?
I am about to cover.
That recused herself at the last meeting in this discussion. And although I have Sarah as chair for signing this, I made a note.
I'm so sorry.
Got Looney Tunes going on here.
Yeah,
We probably will need to have somebody else sign on your behalf ultimately, would be my guess, but you know, that's something we should discuss.
I sent a reply to you with kind of a language, with respect in the letters.
Yeah, the one thing you did, what I just mentioned is what you
Okay,
mentioned in your email,
oh, okay,
about what's in parentheses next to your name.
yeah,
This is based on, Hans went to the project file, got me some information about what was actually approved, not approved back in 2012, and that was the basis for,
And it is pretty clear they have to come back for anything they build.
I think so, yeah. It's not unlike Steve Foster's approval for over here, where he had some other buildings, but they were like indicated on the site plan as something in the future where it would come back for further approvals. And plus the other thing is there's a pretty sound argument to be made that since the only work that was actually done under this was bring in fill, that they never met the substantial construction standards, so their permit expired. Because none of the buildings that they proposed, including a shop or heavy equipment, were constructed.
Let me first say, George, I think the letter is very good.
What's that?
I said, I think the letter is very good. And I'm wondering, going back to rather, and I don't know if that the legalities here of having someone sign it. I don't know how you worded it, but could it be from the Belgrade Planning Board and the board itself sign it, except for Sarah? Or you want to make it very clear that she's recusing herself from the project?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I think maybe the cleaner way would be for us to decide who will sign, sort of. I mean, if we had a vice chair, that would be the person that, but we don't. We could have one after that ordinance, if that ordinance passes, but we decide and have a vote on who's gonna sign it, just so it's clear for the record. Because whoever's gonna do it will have to, you know, at a minimum, someone else's designee language needs to come out. And then somebody will need to come in to be able, into the town office to be able to sign that, I would think.
My thinking, I thought is, you wrote the letter. Is there anything, you have an objection to signing it if we?
Not if the board, approves that, no.
so I can move a motion to have, the letter of response to Mr. Finley be signed by George Seal as the assignee of the planning board.
Yeah.
So I need a second.
I got a second.
Craig will second it, and we want to have a vote on that.
Yeah,
So, Mr. Baker, yes?
yes, yeah.
Sarah, yes? Mr. Seal
Yes,
and Craig?
Yes.
Yes, and Nick?
Yes,
All right, so we have 5 yeses, none opposed, and so motion carries.
So
What would you, I'm sorry, go ahead. Jim.
what I was gonna say is what I'll do is I'll eliminate the language next to Sarah's name. And when I sign it, what I'll do and what standard procedure usually is, I'll sign my name, George Seal, for Sarah Langette.
Okay. Works for me.
Or-
And maybe in the letter, we don't have to explain that. I recuse myself because it's part of the minutes.
Yeah, and it is in the draft minutes from last meeting.
Mm,
What I was gonna say, and maybe it was, I was gonna address the signature, George Seal, planning board representative or something better. The reason I had the question of the George Seal for Sarah, that implies that you may have written it.
That Sarah wrote it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
He's signing it for you.
Yeah, I mean,
we can put it,
I'm not sure it matters who wrote it. Cause it's ultimately a letter from the planning board. But you know, I'll go with whatever you guys want.
I think George Seal for the planning board would be.
Okay.
planning board, ask me. I contested whether we should say designee or assignee.
I think George Seal for the planning board, for the
Yeah.
planning board, because we all decided on it.
Right.
Be fine. All right, so that closed that item. And we are moving to the next item on the agenda, which is planning board charter. And you want to talk about that or?
Not a lot to talk about, except that the select board approved it.
Yeah. Well, very good.
And with no additional changes, you know, it was pretty simple stuff, actually, just stuff that the attorney came up with and our approval of that, and I think the next, well, they have language for a warrant article, I understand from Mary.
Mhm.
And so I think the next step probably will be a public hearing on it, and there are two other items that are gonna be on the June special town meeting.
Yep.
Or a special town vote.
But here, isn't the hearing like May 2nd?
I don't know. But you know, the normal procedures will be followed by the select board and Mary Vogel,
And they will have the public hearing.
Yes.
Not us.
not us.
Mhm.
No. Right. Right.
Yeah.
There's something for this, one of the other articles will be, I think, additional funds for the cemetery. I don't know any of the details, and then there's something about multi-year contracts.
Yeah.
I don't know what those are about, but I take it if it's more than a 1-year contract, it has to go back, it has to be approved by the voters and not the select board.
That's right. So all those are gonna be at the public hearing, yeah, and then on the vote in June. Adding on the vote in June, the school board budget as well. So I guess we knocked that one out too. I'm reporting to the public here. And then, next item on the agenda is approval of previous minutes. So if we probably can take a few minutes to go over them very quickly again. I had to check them again because you found that, and so, oh my God.
I had no idea when I read it at home, when I read it off the computer, it's like, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
And, I know you weren't Irish.
Hey,
So-
you know, you get your DNA tested, you never know what you're gonna
I
find.
know that too. So, Caitlin? Yeah, the only, correction we have for the minutes is that in the first page, underneath election of new board chairperson, my last name, has an O in front of it. And, it's just a typo also. So it's the only correction that I think we have for the minutes. Any other corrections?
Item 4, letter from Scott Finley, reference, for board approving the letter at the next meeting, which is actually April 20th, not April 21st.
That would be second to last page.
Yeah.
On the top,
And I'm marking up my copy for her to reference.
nice. On their decision, right on the top. So it's April 20th, not 21st. All right, any other corrections?
And I have a couple of comment, well, one is a comment, I noticed not just these minutes, but I don't know whether it's an issue or not. A lot of places it says the ordinance, the application should be amended or should do this, and I'm wondering whether it's really clear whether the application was amended, and it, like I said, I think probably, in each case, we ensure that it is changed, but it's not clear by the minutes whether it was.
Yeah,
The other,
yeah, no, I agree with you. That we capture the end result rather, most importantly, I can't remember where that is in the.
there's a couple places, one of them is, the discussion on the, second application. Said the application should also be changed to clarify that this structure will be a detached bedroom.
Oh,
Not a bunkhouse. So the other thing, the only other comment I had was that exact sentence. It'd be a detached bedroom, not a bunkhouse, as different laws apply to each. I'm not sure we said that,
right, I had the same
bunkhouse and
question. I know you brought up that the plumbing code is being amended to use that terminology, but in shoreline zoning, we don't, it doesn't use that terminology. And since this is all about a shoreline zoning permit, I think we need to use the term bunkhouse.
I thought we had a new name for that, or we just playing.
And that's what they're discussing. Bunkhouse doesn't have plumbing. So if you have a separate room building for sleeping and it has plumbing, what do you want to call it? Plumbing code calls it a detached bedroom.
Yeah, historically, we've called it a bunkhouse.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't have all 3 criteria. As long as one of them's gone, then it's considered a bunkhouse.
and even if it's just a bedroom, it's still a bunkhouse.
Right.
It's just you can't have all 3 and not.
I mean, I understand your point, Hans, because, you know, if on the street somebody said bunkhouse, I would think just sleeping quarters, but I think under this ordinance, as long as it can have any combination of things, as long as it's not a second primary, a second residential dwelling, incorporating all 3: plumbing, sleeping, and cooking.
That's all I had.
I have few additional.
So let me go back a little bit here. So in that page, application was changed. And they'll say should be changed.
Yeah.
Yes,
So application was changed. And the item of the bunkhouse. Should we strike off not a bunkhouse as different law applies? And just leave it detached bedroom,
No, just the opposite.
the opposite. Okay, so we will say it will be a bunkhouse. And that's it.
Yeah.
Well, the application was changed and he's initially. So you would call Doug Crane back in here to redo the application.
Oh, so it was changed. So I guess I'm confused on this terms. I think what you said is that detached bedroom is in the new law or code, or is now how they
Yes.
refer to bunkhouses.
And that directly correlates to the gallons per day calculation for the septic system. A bunkhouse is 20 gallons per bed, and a detached bedroom would be 90 gallons per room.
I mean, for us to start using the term detached bedroom or something like that, we would need to amend the ordinance. And I don't know, is the plumb code even approved yet? Last I saw, they extended the,
Yeah,
they extended the deadline for comments.
They did.
So that's not even been encoded yet.
And when that changes, I guess all the other ordinances.
If the application said detached bedroom, then I don't remember one way or the other, then let's just leave it before we move on, but I think you know, for our purposes, until the ordinance changes, I think we need to,
Still in bunkhouse.
yeah, refer and not get cut off, you know, and just understand there's a difference between the plumbing code and the state regulations that the plumbing code are and shoreline zoning, and maybe if it's more of it becomes much of an issue, I assume DEP will amend the chapter 1000 at some point to make it consistent.
So we,
What I would suggest, Sarah, is in that sentence, say the application should also be changed, was changed to clarify this with detached bedroom or bunkhouse,
I'll bring both.
and delete the rest. And be done with it.
Yeah, we
Both.
definitely want to delete the rest.
So yeah, just again, so I have this sink in my head, a bunkhouse is 20 gallons per bedroom, per bed. And the detached room, a bedroom is 90.
Per room.
Per room.
The way it was explained to me by designer was a bedroom with 90 gallons and the bunkhouse was considered half of that, so it's 45 gallons. That's what they were. That's how they designed that.
I think that's in the book now, yeah.
So it's, it doesn't look like beds, it's a bunkhouse is half of what a bedroom is, basically.
What's the difference between a bunkhouse with toilet facilities or whatever and detached bedroom with toilet facilities? Why would there need to be a different, and I know we don't direct the plumbing code, but what the heck is the difference between a bedroom with toilet facilities detached and a bunkhouse with toilet facilities, essentially a bedroom?
Well, I think what they're looking to do is just add more.
Pardon me?
I think what they're looking to do is just to bump it up. The bunkhouse rather than being half, that's what it seems like to me.
No, the new definition of bunkhouse will not have plumbing. It'll be a shed with a bed.
Okay. That would make sense.
We learned something.
I have a
new.
few other
Sure, go ahead,
comments,
please.
on, first item under new business, the, Sebago Drive, proposal, or permit, under discussion, this would be a conforming structure, actually it should be non-conforming structure. And the third line down in that same paragraph that starts, would like to rebuild a bunkhouse on the existing wooden platform on. I think rather just a cement foundation would be good to clarify that it's the existing cement foundation. So replace A with the existing. Same discussion, third paragraph. It says the board suggested that the concrete pad be moved back. I think asked if the concrete pad could be moved would be a better terminology. Then under number 3 on the third page, John Pummel and J&J Holdings, that was the discussion of the marijuana grow facility in North Belgrade. Under decision, I thought we decided that Hans was going to contact the town attorney, not about the commercial development review ordinance, but the minimum lot size ordinance, in terms of whether or not that would require twice, you know, you'd have 2 uses, one commercial, one residential, and hence need 100,000 square feet. I thought that was the issue.
Yeah, I think you're right there. We had quite a discussion about that.
Yeah, so if that's the case, I would, rather than under the current commercial development ordinances, I would, the current minimum lot size ordinance. That's all I had.
Any other amendments to the minutes? All right, Kayla, you got your work caught up, so we'll have, can we have a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second? Greg seconds. So we go to a roll call here. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Seal,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander.
Yeah.
Mr. Sakara,
Yes,
and a yes from me too, so 5 in favor, none opposed, and motion carries. So, we're gonna revert back to new business to item A. I guess, we're gonna ask the revised drawings to be turned in.
Thank you. The lovely layout front. Thank you.
Thank
Even
you
on
so
color
much.
for us.
Oh, God. That's amazing. Very nice.
Is the 30, the reduction from 36 to 34 feet? Is that really intended to go to the prior lakeside
It's gonna go to the
or the new?
one, the new one with behind the 25.
Okay, because that's not clear on these drawings. In fact, it shows it going to your original line.
Yeah,
What's that?
so the arrow ends on the red line. Now it goes to the original line. Gotta put that in yours.
Yeah,
Maybe
maybe
pass
that's
around the red pen.
clarified on the original.
On both feet, sheets, yeah, I gotta do that, yeah.
So, yeah.
Just do it on yours. and I'll make copies of the file.
And don't forget the date and initial it.
That you need me to date initial that, right?
Yeah,
What is today's date?
20.
Thank you.
trick question.
So then also, we have to change the 872 to 888, isn't it? I mean, 884
Yeah.
on the application for the permit sheet. Is everybody happy with the new prints?
With me.
I'm fine with the new site plan drawings and the concept and, you know, the footprint areas and all that, it'd be good on the original if this drawing was corrected as well or changed.
I didn't get that
The
back, but
profile view.
you did make a,
Man, I just drew a very rough one.
Well, on mine, it's like the third drawing in.
Yeah,
that's the elevational kind of view.
Yeah, it's a side view.
Okay.
Otherwise, it'll conflict with.
Now, the pitch is gonna change a little bit, still be under the 20 foot.
Yeah, that's what's
because
most important.
Yeah, it's shorter because, so it's gonna change that, but they'll still be well under that.
I drew this up with past the 25 foot setback. Under the 20 foot height, but I'm not 100% sure the pitch yet, but as I said, not to exceed 20 feet.
That I think is more than satisfactory as far as I'm concerned, because that's. What we're concerned about, you know, the ultimate pitch is really up to you.
I'll initial and date this one and then we'll have that copy because this shows that.
Great.
On the original side.
When we're done.
Yeah, sign up on that, okay.
You should have to save your sign and put it back on the front, and if we take 2 feet of it.
All right, so check that.
all right, so should we proceed with the finding of facts?
Yep. Ready.
I was contending, I went home last meeting and do we have to take a vote to proceed with the finding of facts or just? And because we're closing the discussion.
Oh.
No, I think so.
No, it's finding of facts.
Yeah, I mean, we ultimately vote to approve it, so,
At the end.
yeah, formally, whether that's really necessary, I don't know, but as far as I'm concerned, it's not needed.
Okay,
Initially. Make these changes.
so, we finalized discussion on this application and we're gonna proceed with the finding of facts and conclusions of law. The conclusions law start with the following statement. Based upon the application materials, testimony, statements, evidence, documents, and other materials submitted to it. And the above finding of fact, the Belgrade Planning Board finds that the project is permitted for the use, and then the use was the residential use adjust adjusting the roof pitch and height.
In expansion.
Right. Adding an expansion to the bathroom.
Might be good, just for clarity, to say as amended on April 20th. 2023.
We are actually, yeah, we adding 2 expansions.
Yeah, right.
And then,
So that it reflects.
One making it more conforming, right? You guys like those words?
yes, we do. Adding, should I say, adding a double expansion?
Just expansion will cover both of them.
Okay, under section 14, table 1 in the ordinance. And further makes the following conclusions based on the applicable provisions in section 16D of the ordinance. Number 1. Will maintain safe and healthy conditions by vote of the board is found that this standard was met. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Seal,
Yes,
Mr. Alexander,
Yes,
Mr. Sakara,
Yes,
and Ms. Langet say yes, so 5 in favor, none opposed. Number 2 will not result in water pollution, erosion, or sedimentation to surface waters. By vote of the board, this standard was met. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Seal,
yes,
Mr. Alexander,
yes,
Mr. Sakara,
yes,
Sarah, 5 in favor, yes. So it's 5 in favor. None opposed. Will adequately provide for the disposal of all water, wastewater. By vote of the board, this standard was found to be met. Mr. Seal,
yes.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Trying to see if I'm awake.
Mr. Alexander, yes, Mr. Sakara,
yes,
and Ms. Langet say yes too, so it's 5 in favor, none opposed. Number 4, will not have an adverse impact on spawning grounds, fish, aquatic life, bird or other wildlife habitat. By vote of the board, this standard was found to be met. Mr.
yes,
Baker, yes, Mr. Seal,
Yes,
Mr. Alexander,
yes,
Mr. Sakara.
yes,
So 5 in favor and Ms. Langet, yes, 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Number 5, will conserve shore cover and visual as well as actual points of interest to inland waters. By vote of the board, this standard was found to be met. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Seal,
yes,
Mr. Alexander,
yes,
Mr. Sakara,
yes,
and Ms. Langet say yes too, so it's 5 in favor, no opposed. Number 6, will protect archaeological and historical resources as designated in the comprehensive plan. By vote of the board, this standard was met. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Seal,
yes,
Mr. Alexander,
yes,
Mr. Sakara,
yes,
And Ms. Langer said yes too, so 5 in favor, none opposed. Item 7, will avoid problems associated with floodplain development and use. By vote of the board, this standard was found to be met. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Seal,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Sakara.
Yes,
Ms. Lange, just say yes to, and so it's 5 in favor, no one opposed. Number 8. Now, number 8, it is in conformance with the provisions of section 15 of the land use. And it's a series of items that we have to go through before our voting. So I'm going to start with first one. Does it met minimum lot standards? That's applicable in this.
Yes.
Principal and accessory structures.
Yes.
That's applicable. Campgrounds. No. Individual private campsites.
No.
Not applicable. Commercial and industrial uses, not applicable. Parking areas, not applicable. Road and driveways, not applicable. Signs, not applicable. Stormwater runoff,
Yes.
that's applicable. Septic waste disposal systems,
Here is no.
None's been
not
proposed.
applicable. Essential services, not applicable. Mineral exploration and extraction.
We
You guys
wish.
got all there? No.
No lithium out there?
Agriculture.
Well, that
not
meteorite,
applicable.
right? Is that meteorite? 25,000.
Timber harvesting and land management roads, not applicable. Clearing or removal of vegetation for activities other than timber harvesting, not applicable. Hazard trees, storm damaged trees, and dead trees removal, not applicable. Exemptions to clearing and vegetation removal requirements, not applicable. Rehabilitation requirements, not applicable. We're almost there. Erosion and sedimentation control,
Yes.
yes, that's applicable. Shoreline stabilization, not applicable. Soil,
No.
not applicable. Water quality. Yeah. Historical or archaeological sites, not applicable. Resource protection, not applicable. So, we have, 5 items are applicable. Those are minimum lot size, principal accessory structures, stormwater runoff, erosion and sedimentation control, and water quality. And by vote of the board, it's found that those standards were met on evidence in the record and as it been declared. So, Mr. Baker, gonna vote on that.
Yes.
Mr. Seal,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes,
Mr. Sakara,
yes,
and Ms. Langer vote yes, so it's 5 in favor, none opposed. We are proceeding with this application and permit with the condition of approval needed to meet required by Belgrade SLZ ordinance findings in section 16. And we have 2 conditions here. The first one reads as follows. Management stormwater runoff from new or expanded structures in accordance with section 15I of the Belgrade Shore Zone zoning ordinance and the Maine Department of Environment Protection best management practices as outlined in the conservation practices for homeowners publication. Such measures are to be put in place prior to building use. Note, this is a standing condition that applies to all permits unless deemed unnecessary by the planning board based on the following rationale. So, I guess I didn't have to read the note, but, we're clear with that. We're gonna follow that. And then the second condition is that the planning board's approval of this project is limited to the described in, to that one described in the application and depicted in the accompanying site plans and other application submissions. Any changes to or deviations from the application, site plan, and other application submissions as approved by the planning board must be received prior approval by the board, including but not limited to changes to the proposed location, footprint, heights of the structures, changes in the number of bedrooms, roads and driveways, parking, wells, subsurface wastewater disposal systems, the extent and location of the vegetated areas, tree-cut and natural vegetation clearing methods of soil erosion control, and stormwater runoff control. So what we have is what we're gonna get. All right. With that said, I am gonna proceed to a final decision here. Based on the above findings of fact and conclusion of law on April 20th, 2023, the town of Belgrade Planning Board approved by a vote of over 5. So let's vote on concluding the permit and approve the application. This is the final approval. Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Shield,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander,
Yes.
Mr. Sakara,
Yes,
and Ms. Langet say yes, so it's 5 votes of the so the shore planning permit application of Mr. Christian Bishop with the conditions, with above conditions, and at the meeting of 4/20 develop this written findings of facts and conclusions of law on remand of the Belgrade Board of Appeals and adopted with the findings on today's date. And with that, we approve the permit for this application.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your patience too.
All good.
Congratulations.
We appreciate you letting us do that. Thank you very much.
Yes.
You can have your pen back. I don't like it any better than mine.
That wasn't weak, I think.
Yeah, I know. I just saw a
That
news
might have
story
been
about
right.
the Waco standoff with the FBI past week.
Yeah, I think it's from the other people.
Sarah, do you want to reflect Nick Sicaro's vote on there somehow? Somebody's sign or indicate that he was
Okay,
approved?
I can come in there tomorrow and pick up my packet and sign whatever you need if that works.
That's fine.
okay.
Okay, I'll be in there tomorrow.
I was gonna sign for you, but
Oh, it doesn't matter. If you want to sign, that's fine. Yeah, I'm gonna come by regardless and I'm gonna grab the packet. So I can sign it, but if you want to sign, that's not a problem, sir. Appreciate it.
so we're gonna let you come in and sign. You're coming in tomorrow.
All right.
Anyways. All
I'll come
right.
see Mary tomorrow to grab that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Going to come in tomorrow and get that. We'll be ready tomorrow or next day.
What was it, Monday?
Monday's perfect.
Oh, Monday, I'm out.
Tuesday, okay.
So Ryan, can I have my pen?
You just extended it. I know.
I like
Oh, great. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks for your
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
So, Next item in the agenda is the CEO update.
I don't want to say anything out of line, but, the next meeting, so far, we got nothing. So, means there's gonna be a waterfall,
Yeah, right.
so.
That's surprising.
I've got a couple people working on things. There's one commercial expansion of a storage facility out on Manchester Road. 680 or 866, 886, whatever it is. New owner, they wanna put in some more units, but that's it. There's no plumbing involved. It's all open field. So that's about it.
That's weird.
It is weird.
Very weird.
Actually, I have a question for you, when you have, when you're done.
There's a couple, residences possibly, but nobody's submitted anything yet, so go ahead.
I was just gonna add, I can't remember if it was, I don't think it was last meeting, it might have been the meeting before, you kind of made a reference to Belgrade Performance Auto and on Depot Road and what a mess it was, and that piqued my interest. It's a commercial development review permit issued by this board. It's right across the street from this central school.
And that wasn't me.
Oh, I thought it was you. No. Okay. Well, it is indeed a friggin' mess. It's a friggin' junkyard is what it is.
I see that on a fairly regular basis from the school bus, but, they do move stuff around. I mean, I know what you're talking about, but stuff is, they've got work in progress.
Well, I mean, I wasn't on the board when that was approved, so I'm not really even sure what was approved. Except that I remember when I first joined the board, there was often discussions about that, and members that were on the board at that time often said that we did not approve for vehicles to be right up against the road. Whether that's what the site plan shows or not, I couldn't tell you, but it might be worth looking into it. I will tell you one other thing, though. DEP was involved in that because of the large quantities of waste oil and ethylene ethylene glycol that he was storing, and the fact that he wasn't even, he violated state law by locating there. It was in violation of the state's wellhead protection law because it's within 1,000 feet of the school well. And that resulted in the taxpayers having to pay more money for sampling of that well to protect against it becoming contaminated, or at least knowing when it becomes contaminated. So you might want to put that on your radar for at some point to do a compliance inspection, because if he pollutes the school well or the neighbor's well, which is within 300 feet, there'll be a problem.
Okay.
I could have sworn that you had said you were already working on that, but that's the only reason I brought it up. But I decided that because that piqued my interest, I drove by and you're right. It kind of ebbs and flows like the tides, with his vehicle. Sometimes it's better and other times it's worse. I mean, there's no way to characterize that other than a major eyesore, but
I think there was discussion at the time about where the vehicles would be. And I think it did say not up by the road, but I can't remember for sure.
yeah, I mean, it's whatever he put in his site plan that got approved. That's the bottom line.
I'll look into it.
All right. Any other items? No. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I did last time I was doing.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll
And
second.
second, all right. So we vote for that, Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Seal,
Yes.
Mr. Alexander, Mr. Sakara,
Yes,
and I say yes, and we're done. All right.
all right. Thank you very much. I'll see you guys. I'll tell Mary, I'll see you here tomorrow. Appreciate you guys.
Thank
Okay,
you.
very good.
Good night.
See you next week.
All right, thanks.